Have you ever, stumbled across a crumbling ruin or heard a story about a city that just vanished?
It's so intriguing, right?
Yeah, like whole civilizations just gone without a trace. Poof.
It really makes you think, what happened to them?
Exactly. And that's what you and I are going to dive deep into today. 7 civilizations that disappeared, leaving behind more questions than answers.
We're going to look at historical records and what archaeologists have been able to piece together to try and understand why these societies just ceased to exist.
It's like a puzzle, a historical mystery we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
And it's going to take us all over the world, from the Americas to ancient India.
And across time, too, spanning thousands of years.
So let's start in the American Southwest. Have you ever seen pictures of those incredible cliff dwellings the Ancestral Puebloans built?
Oh, yeah. Carved right into the canyon walls.
It's mind-blowing. To think they built those so long ago with the tools they had. These people were masters of their environment, skilled farmers, astronomers.
It's amazing how they adapted to such a harsh desert landscape. Their understanding of water and agriculture was phenomenal.
And then, boom, around the late 13th century, they were gone. Vanished. Just empty cliff cities.
Left behind in a hurry, it seems.
And what's weird is there's no real sign of war or a massive disaster.
It's a mystery. The most likely theories are things like a really long drought that made farming impossible, or maybe they ran out of resources.
Or maybe internal conflict forced them to move on. But you can't help but wonder, right? What if it was something else?
Like something we just haven't discovered yet.
Something so huge that it forced these incredible builders to just walk away from everything they'd created.
Makes you think about all the things we might not know about the past.
Now, from the desert, we're going to the Mississippi River Valley to the site of Cahokia. Ever heard of it?
Oh yeah, a pre-Columbian city.
But this wasn't just any city. This was a massive, sprawling metropolis. Around 1200 AD, it was bigger than London or Paris.
Really? That big?
They had these enormous earthen pyramids, almost as impressive as the ones in Egypt. And get this, they even had a wood hinge, a giant wooden calendar aligned with the stars.
That's incredible. It really shows you how advanced they were. To build something on that scale, they must have incredible leaders and social organization.
Then, within a century, Cahokia was deserted. Gone.
What could cause such a rapid decline?
Well, scientists think it might have been a combination of things, like maybe climate change led to floods and droughts that wrecked their crops.
And maybe there was some internal conflict too? Or disease?
There's even a chilling theory that there was a mass die-off, maybe some unknown disease that wiped everyone out.
An ancient pandemic, perhaps?
And here's the thing, a disaster that big, that sudden, might not leave much behind for us to find centuries later.
It's like a ghost story, a thriving city just disappearing into thin air.
Now let's travel across the world to the Indus Valley Civilization.
Now, that was an advanced civilization.
Well, yeah, this was around 4,500 years ago in what's now Pakistan and India. And their cities, like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, were remarkably sophisticated.
They were like urban planners. Streets laid out in grids, drainage systems, even public baths.
It's unbelievable how well organized they were. And then, around 1900 BCE, it all collapsed.
Oh, it went wrong.
Well, the most likely culprit is the environment. Maybe earthquakes, changes in weather patterns, or even the Indus River changing its course.
That would have been devastating for a society so dependent on the river.
But then there's this really intriguing detail. Some skeletons found in Mohenjo-Daro have high levels of radiation.
Radiation.
Yeah. And some researchers have theorized that maybe, just maybe, it was an ancient nuclear event.
Whoa. That seems far-fetched.
I know, right? But it's a mystery. And it makes you wonder if we truly understand everything about the past.
Like, what if we're missing some key pieces of the puzzle?
Now, for another fascinating civilization, we're heading to Mesoamerica, the land of the Maya. These people were incredible.
Oh, absolutely. Their pyramids, their writing system, their calendar. They were geniuses.
They really were. But by the 9th century AD, their grand cities, places like Tikal and Copan, were abandoned.
It's a classic collapse story, isn't it?
It really is. Droughts, warfare, maybe they used up their resources, the usual suspects.
Makes you wonder if it was a gradual decline or a sudden collapse.
That's the thing. It seems to have happened quite abruptly in some areas. And there are Mayan texts that talk about a great darkness forcing people to flee.
Ooh, that's spooky. A great darkness.
So was it a natural disaster? A political upheaval? It's hard to say.
Maybe it was a combination of factors. That seems to be a common theme.
Speaking of mysteries, let's talk about the Roanoke colony. This one hits a little closer to home.
What happened there?
Well, In the late 1500s, a group of English settlers landed in what's now North Carolina. They set up a colony, and then a few years later, when supply ships returned, everyone was gone. Over 100 men, women, and children. Poof.
Vanished without a trace.
The only clue was the word Croatoan carved on a post.
What do you think that means?
No one knows for sure. Some think they joined a nearby Native American tribe called the Croatoan.
That makes sense. Maybe they needed help to survive.
Others think it was something more sinister, a massacre, a disease, maybe even. Well, we just don't know.
And no bodies, no signs of a struggle.
Nothing. It's as if they disappeared into thin air.
This is one of those mysteries that keeps you up at night.
All right, for our next stop, we're going to Southeast Asia, to the Khar Empire. These were the people who built Angkor Wat, one of the most incredible temple complexes in the world.
Angkor Wat is breathtaking. It's hard to imagine the kind of power and resources it took to build something like that.
The Khar Empire was a dominant force in Southeast Asia for centuries. They had advanced irrigation systems, huge cities.
They really were a sophisticated society.
But by the 15th century, their empire had collapsed. The usual theories, war, climate change come up.
Seems like environmental factors played a big role in a lot of these disappearances.
And that's what recent research has pointed to with the Khmer. It seems like extended droughts and major floods crippled their irrigation systems, leading to widespread famine and ultimately the collapse of their empire.
It's a reminder that even the most powerful civilizations are vulnerable to the forces of nature.
And finally, we have to talk about Atlantis, the legendary lost city.
Yes. Plato's story. A technologically advanced utopia swallowed by the sea.
Was it a real place?
Who knows?
Some think it was based on a real civilization, maybe even inspired by the Minoan civilization on Santorini, which was destroyed by a volcanic eruption.
That's a popular theory. The timing fits, and the destruction was catastrophic.
Others think Atlantis was just an allegory, a story Plato made up to teach a lesson about the dangers of greed and hubris.
Yeah, it's hard to separate fact from fiction with a story like that.
But the question remains, could Atlantis be out there somewhere, waiting to be discovered?
Under the ocean.
Yeah.
Waiting to reveal its secrets.
Now, looking back at all these vanished civilizations, don't you see some patterns emerging?
Definitely. Environmental changes seem to be a major factor.
Yeah, whether it's droughts, floods, or resource depletion. And then there's conflict, both internal and external.
And the really fascinating thing is that for some of these disappearances, we just don't have a clear answer.
It's like those unsolved mysteries you see on TV, but on a much grander scale.
It makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden in the past, waiting to be uncovered.
And maybe that's the most compelling thing about these lost civilizations.
Yeah.
They remind us that we don't know everything, and that maybe, just maybe, there are forces at work in history that we don't fully understand.
And that's a good thing, right? It means there's still so much to learn and discover.
So to everyone listening, which of these lost civilizations intrigues you the most? Which mystery do you wish we had the answer to? And more importantly, what can we learn from these vanished societies?
Because if these advanced civilizations could disappear, what does that say about our own? What vulnerabilities do we have? What steps can we take to ensure that we don't become another lost civilization, another forgotten chapter in history? That's something to think about.
And that's our deep dive for today. Until next time.
Keep exploring.